So you want to just start with your mean Mercedes?
Yeah,
Okay.
we can start with your mean Mercedes. I guess do we have to kind of? I mean, I don't know if people are listening, they
Yeah,
kind of should know what's
I would
happened.
think so. Give them a little backstory. Obviously, they're up big, swings 3-0. A part of it is that Williams Astudillo, who was a position player for the
Position
Twins,
player,
was in throwing. Obviously, game's over theoretically, and Twins are conceding that they're going to lose, whatnot. Your mean Mercedes is up there, 3-0, hacking, and he hits a home run, and it caused a hoopla throughout the sports world and baseball world. For a lot of
yeah,
different factors. So I thought we could kind of touch on all of them. Because I think what's fascinating about the story, why I hit you up, is that there's so many different factors of the story. So thought we could touch on that. I guess we could start with your kind of opinion just from your mean Mercedes side of it of swinging 3-0 kind of in that situation.
yeah. So there's well, I actually kind of want to start with this.
Oh, boy.
Like, my bad. Like there, I feel like I want there to be like, I don't know, like a little more nuance. Like when we talk about somebody like Tony La Russa, um, because like he's Tony fucking La Russa,
Okay.
you know. Like I feel like that should mean something. Like
Okay.
I'm not saying I think he's right. So like, all right, here's my thing. I don't agree with him giving the take sign 3-0. There's a lot in this that I don't agree with him with.
Okay.
And this is kind of what I'm getting from the quotes from the White Sox is there's stuff that they don't agree with him with.
Okay. They don't agree with
But
Tony La
it's
Russa
with Tony La
Okay.
Russa. But from like, and I saw the Tim Anderson quote. I had to look it up just now because you had just told me about it, and I thought it was a perfect way to put it, which was like, you know, he's like the dad. We're like the bad kid sometimes, and sometimes we don't see eye to eye, but we keep pushing forward. Da, da, da. I thought it was the perfect way, and I don't know. I'm kind of getting tired of like people that aren't in baseball or like currently playing baseball or like who don't like know what they're talking about complaining about like these quote unquote unwritten rules.
Okay.
Like it's kind of turning into like a buzzword thing, like, oh, the stupid unwritten rules, like this old school manager like hates people having fun. And I don't know. I just like I don't know, I'm kind of saying a lot right now, but
That's the
I
objective
feel
of
like
it.
like yeah, I like there's you can disagree with him. You can think like, you know, you don't need to take 3-0. I personally don't think in that situation you need to take. But the part about where he said like he blew through a take sign,
Okay.
and just from like a you know being a good manager. Part of being a good manager is like, you know, having discipline on your team. So like from that point, for him to say like, you know, he blew through a take sign and there will be consequences for that. I have absolutely no problem with.
So I got to apologize then. I did not know that part of the story. I didn't know that they had specifically given him the take sign.
Right.
So most of my takes are going to be that if he did not give him the take sign specifically.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know. You're right about that part. I guess, so obviously we feel a little bit differently about this. I think in general we've always kind of felt differently about this kind of stuff. It's been well documented how I feel about this stuff in general when it comes to games. I don't really give a fuck. I'm trying to beat the shit out of your opponent and whatnot. The added part of it, yes, if you're not listening to your coaching, that's a problem. I think my issue with Tony La Russa, and I hear what you're saying about the respecting Tony La Russa, but I think I was more on the side when I saw the story of just like, you got to have your guys' back though. And
Yes.
that
Yes.
I guess when the sequence of events as I saw your mean Mercedes swung 3-0, hit the home run, and people were talking about that. And then the next thing I saw was Tony La Russa, condemning your mean Mercedes. And I was like, I don't know about that. Like, I feel like you kind of have to have his back in that situation. I didn't like his, and if, or I guess publicly, my opinion is you have to have his back. Where it's internally, it's like you call him in the office and you go, hey, this is blah, 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 and you punish him or whatever. I guess the first quotes about it, the first talking about it was his own manager kind of throwing him under the bus. I took issue with that a little bit.
No, yeah, and that's the thing where it's like, I think there are that like I don't agree. I generally don't agree with Tony La Russa on on the idea of he shouldn't swing 3-0, and then him, basically outing him to the media. But yeah, so that's where it's like I disagree with him. But also, like, him not liking it is his prerogative to me.
Right.
And I think I get annoyed when it becomes too much of this, like, Tony La Russa hates fun. Tony La Russa, like,
right.
doesn't know what he's doing. And, like, I haven't checked the standings, but my understanding is they're playing really well, right?
Yes, that is my understanding. And specifically, I looked up Yermin Mercedes is crushing it. I think he's like leading the league in average or something. Or at least when I looked up,
right.
he was up there.
I mean, what a story.
No, I hear what you're saying. What?
I was just going to say what a story is, like a 28-year-old rookie, gets his opportunity, is absolutely running with it, which is awesome to see.
I just saw it as La Russa obviously doesn't like it, and then I saw a bunch of the White Sox players kind of come out against La Russa. And yeah, my first thought was this could be trouble. This is this is problematic.
So dude, honestly, and this was more the Tim Anderson quote doing it for me. I got it as I am like, I think that clubhouse is in a good spot.
Okay.
Where, like, I mean, I don't agree with Tony La Russa's take on it. I respect him as a great baseball mind and a legend in the game. But the way, like, the fact that they've come out and you have Lance Lynn, the Lance Lynn quote I loved, where he came out and said something, and then La Russa said, he has a locker, I have an office.
Right.
I love that.
I think it's fair to say most Lance Lynn quotes you like.
I like Lance Lynn.
Yeah,
I like Lance Lynn. But
you spent some time around him, right?
A tiny bit,
right.
A tiny bit. Like we sat next to each other in 16 spring training when they were doing like the autograph stuff.
That's right.
And yeah, just he was rehabbing at the time. Couldn't be more salty. Couldn't be funnier about it.
Gotta love salty vets, man.
Yeah, and then coupling that with just like watching the way he pitches. Also a bad body guy. Mm-hmm. Which I respect it. I respect a bad body guy that just goes out and competes his ass off.
A bad body athlete that dominates his sport is
I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Where was I going?
We were going with what he said about La Russa and the quote that he said.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a healthy disagreement in their clubhouse, and it sounds like they have a young, talented team with a strong personality that likes to have a lot of fun with an overly old school, great baseball mind, like holding the reins. And if they can like find a balance in that while being able to disagree, I think that's better than if you just had like some guy that's like, yeah, guys do, everybody do it. Like, it's like, yeah, if Tim Anderson and I got Tim Anderson as the leader of the Let the Kids Play on that team. So like, if he's pushing them in the direction of everybody be loose and everybody have fun, and then you have La Russa pulling them back to like, let's play solid baseball and have a disciplined culture and know how to win.
I gotta be honest, you've kind of changed my thinking on it a little bit. I'll be honest, originally when I saw the story, like following through like Bleacher Report and stuff like that, I was like, I'm kind of expecting Tony La Russa's been fired by the White Sox type of thing. I was thinking that was going to be problematic, but I like the way you're thinking about it. You think that's making the clubhouse stronger, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, and we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. You kind of wish that it wouldn't play out so much in the media because that's kind of what makes it look worse. Right. Like you said, like him. And the big one for me, and the game is moving away from it, and I'm glad it is the like condoning throwing at guys.
Right.
Even though, okay, being as they kind of changed the rules on that halfway through my life, so like I'm a little bit split.
Yeah.
Because part of me was like, yeah, he kept it down. You know, if it had hit him, it would have been in the leg, you know, stomach area. So like that is in the old school way. Right. That is like an acceptable beating.
Right.
But
so you mean Mercedes side of it, just like the baseball side of it, of the swinging 3-0, the being down, the hitting the home run, the when the other team brings in the position player, like. Obviously, we talked about the Tony La Russa part. But obviously the Twins had a problem with it. So I think we kind of know how I feel about it, and I'll touch on that. But kind of maybe you touch on on that side of it, of just the baseball aspect of it.
Yeah. So this is
like as the hitter. Go from your Mercedes side of it.
It's absolutely swing the bat. Williams Astudillo looks like a nightmare of a position player to face as a hitter, and I don't think people
toughest guy to get out in baseball, by the way.
I don't think like people understand how much hitters don't like hitting against position players.
Right.
You train year round, however much people swing all the time to face. Especially if you're in the big leagues, you're facing these 97 to 100 guys with nasty shit. Right. And then all of a sudden you bring out a guy who throws pitches that are, I don't care how slow they are, they're 30 to 40 miles per hour difference between pitches. Right. From like pretty much the same release point. Like it doesn't look fun.
I mean, Rizzo, a couple weeks ago, Anthony Rizzo struck out Freddie Freeman.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that, but
absolute nightmare. Left on left position player battle. 90% of the time, like if I'm facing a position player, I just want to make contact and get the at bat over with as quickly as possible. And I think, what I think I'm gonna. This is going off on a tangent, but like what I think I'm gonna start doing, because I saw Javi Baez do it, and Javi's really cool. Is I think I'm just gonna start hitting righty against position players if I get a chance. Because it really is kind of a mindfuck. Anyway. This is where I'm confused on the Twins, because when you put a position player, when you put a position player into pitch, you are essentially what you're saying is we just want to get through the rest of this game. We want to get through the rest of this game without anybody getting hurt, without using extra arms. We want to get it over with, right? So like what is the problem with like a guy swinging with 2 outs, right?
I don't remember the exact outs in the situation.
It doesn't really matter.
I don't think that matters, really.
Yeah, it's like I feel like I would be more upset at a guy like working the count.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
In a game that you're getting you're getting boat raced, as you love to say, and right? Like the mentality in that situation for everybody on the field is like, let's get the fuck out of here.
Right.
The game's done.
Yeah.
Like we're done. So like him taking 3-0 is only going to make the game go longer.
Right.
He swings and rolls over and ends if he swings and rolls over and ends the game. Thank you.
Right. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Well, yeah. That's my overall take on hitters swinging 3-0 in general. As a pitcher, I like it. I think the odds are in my favor that you're not going to hit the home run. You're going to, even if you hit it hard, you're going to hit it hard at someone, because hitting it one is hard, and hitting it where major league defenses aren't playing is also really hard. So I'm in favor of guys swinging 3-0 in general. My problem with it, and obviously a big part of my problem with it just in general, is my overall philosophy when it comes to competition, sports in general, is if you don't like it, it's your job to stop it from happening. That, yeah, if then bring in another pitcher, or, I hate the thought process from the Twins being like, hey, come on, we're kind of, not trying as much right now, so like take it easy on us. Like that's not how this works.
Yeah.
Like
the idea, like, okay, the whole thing about 3-0 is ridiculous to me.
Yeah. I guess that's another part. Is like, well, it's like 3-0. Why does the count matter? Like, you're throwing lob balls up there, and I think I can take an aggressive hack on it. Yeah, I'm taking an aggressive hack on it. Like,
so Yeah, so I'll tell the one time I got a talking to about swinging 3-0. I think I've told you this story before. I was in Memphis. We were down 2 runs, nobody on, and I hit a home run 3-0. This was in the ninth. This was like bottom of the ninth. 1 out, down 2, nobody on. Swung 3-0, hit a home run. We ended up losing the game. Next day, kind of got called. I got called in the office. Was just kind of like glad you got your homer. Glad good swing. That not the time to swing 3-0 there. And that and I agree with that. Like thinking back on it, from a strategic standpoint, right? Like as you like to talk about, like there's really more of a chance that I swing myself into an out. And what we're trying to do is get we need a base runner, right?
Right.
So like that kind of, if we're talking about like actual strategy, how to win a game, and you're saying 3-0 is not the call, absolutely. But the idea of telling somebody to not compete in the batter's box, especially like as we're seeing, as it's always been, big league pitching has always been good, but especially this year, big league pitching is fucking disgusting.
Right.
If I can get myself in a hitter's count and I feel comfortable and I want to swing, like there should be no kind of like, this time we kind of need you to, just for the sake of the game, we need you to take it out. Like
or you owe it to the opponent that you're just gonna get out for him. Type of thing. Because, like, listen, the story you brought up about, I would say that's a bad team strategy there. As we've talked about it, just down 2, hitting a solo home run just kills the momentum of a rally. So I'm just saying,
it's a selfish play.
Right. So just all around, I'm like, I just don't think that's a good idea.
Right.
But the idea, as you said, is of telling someone essentially not to compete or not to compete 100% type of thing. Like, then I'd be, okay, so if the position player comes in and the game, so no matter what I do, it doesn't go for an 0-for, right? Like it's not an 0-for-1 then if I get out? Like, is that what we're saying? But as long as it's still going against my stats, and I don't know your mean Mercedes' contract situation, but, I'm sure at some point he's going to want to, talk contract.
He's a 28-year-old rookie.
Right.
He wants to put up some numbers.
Right. Like, I would want someone competing every single at bat. And if you're going to bring in someone that makes it easier for me to do that, that's on you. Because I guess you brought up the point of why you bring in a position player, and for the most part, I agree. I don't think the injury aspect is as much of it as it is game's kind of over and you don't want to burn pitching in baseball where you're playing,
that's exactly
when you're playing every day. So it's like, that's your choice and you're entitled to do that. But I don't understand what I now owe you, and I guess that's always my problem. Is then I just feel like if that's the thinking, then it should be allowed. You should be allowed to forfeit. And then fine, Twins, you just forfeit and you decide. But like, if we're going to still be competing, I think it was in Minnesota, if I remember correctly. So you're going to come up for the bottom half and you're going to still try to score. Yes, I understand it's a 12-run game and the chances of that you coming back are not likely, but you're going to still try to have competitive at-bats and score. Like, no, I don't understand what I owe you in taking or I have to care what the count is, I'm trying to do damage up here, and it's your job to stop me. If you want to bring in a infielder who's throwing 50 miles per hour, whatever it is, that's on you. But I'm trying to do damage when I step up here every single at bat. And the fact that that's not widely applauded on your mean Mercedes' side, the fact that he has to take any flack from it, and I think the problem I had with his manager not sticking up from that situation, I'm like, that's the approach I want my hitters to take. Is that every time they step in the box, they're trying to do damage. Like that, I feel like that's what you want.
Yeah. I think. There's, and one more thing on the quote unquote unwritten rules thing. Some of them I agree with, some of them I don't. But I guess I don't know. It's not. Sorry, I kind of went off track. The big thing is, to me, I didn't like it being in the media. I didn't like it. I didn't like him outing them to the media.
I mean, that's just the world we live in now, unfortunately.
Yeah, but also, I don't know. I think you nailed it. I mean,
because I'll say Tony La Russa being an old school guy, also part of that, I feel like he's one of the types of guys that, when that question's asked, be like, I understand you have to ask, but we're going to handle that internally and just kind of leave it there.
Yeah.
So
we're going to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're right. I would say ultimately I felt like kind of throwing him under the bus, but I guess we could transition. I'm glad we got that covered, but you brought it up and it made me think about, you talk about how fucking nasty pitching has been this year. What do we do with all these no hitters? I mean,
dude,
was it 6 now? 7 now? If you count Bumgarner?
7 if you count Bumgarner. 6 official no hitters.
Yeah. I mean, we're at the second month of the season.
I believe the record is 7. I think the record is 7 no hitters in a season. Yeah, I mean,
not even at the All-Star break.
Yeah, dude, pitchers are gross. I will say, okay, I don't. Because I've read articles about it.
Okay.
And this is kind of on the same. This is on like the same token as like the unwritten rules thing. I'm so fucking sick and tired of hearing people complain about metrics as like the reason that like hitters are struggling. If I hear one more fucking person mention launch angle as a reason for hitters not hitting well, right? Like,
I like passionate D-Wash, man.
It's oh my fuck! It's insane. It's like I like smart people understand this. I all of our listeners are super smart, but there will be a couple that there will be a couple that don't already know this. So I'll say launch angle is not a type of swing.
That's the
it's
caption.
not. It's not. It is a metric for measuring the angle at which the ball leaves the bat.
Would you say it's a philosophy? So it's not a philosophy.
So the philosophy behind like the fly ball revolution, right, is what it's called. When basically hitting coaches said, "Hey, this whole thing about swinging down on the ball doesn't make sense for a lot of people." It essentially goes like this: there's the pitcher, the catcher, the first baseman, second baseman, shortstop, and third baseman are in this tiny little area called the infield. Okay? And then you have the 3 outfielders, the left fielder, the center fielder, and the right fielder. This will look backwards, but like if you're looking at it, but like, okay? They have to cover a much larger area, right?
Right.
So what people figure out, it's amazing how long this took, is that we should be trying to hit balls to the outfield because there's probably more hits there, especially with the caliber of big league of big league defenses. The info they have on where you hit your ground balls and how they position people. When you, like this is Donaldson said this a while ago, so like I'm not saying anything new. You hit the ball on the ground more times than not, you're out.
Yeah.
And when you're not out, you're usually hitting a single. And the way that pitchers pitch these days, you're not stringing together 3 or 4 singles.
Right. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I'm interested with you saying that because I was always under the impression the launch angle and all that kind of stuff was more about the fact that it's harder to string hits together to score. So, hitting a home run is, it's worth more than a single or whatnot. I never thought of it in terms of, there's less people out there and there's more ground to cover.
That's where it gets so misconstrued. Is it really isn't about hitting home runs.
Okay.
It's about barreling the ball in the air.
Okay.
So that the outfielders have to deal with it because there's doubles out there, there's triples out there, and there's homers.
So playing devil's advocate, I know you'll probably roll your eyes at this, but I would imagine someone would say, talking about launch angle and whatnot, is that it's not so much that they're telling. I'm talking about the people that are against it type of thing. They're not saying for people to hit the ball on the ground. They're probably saying there's a difference between like a fly ball and a line drive.
Yes.
Yes. And that obviously I'm sure you would say, yes, if you can hit line drives every time, that's great. But, people are like, well, no, if you hit line drives in the gap, that would be better than just hitting fly balls over and over again.
Here's another point, because I remember I brought this up to you, and this was kind of a new concept to you. and I think it's a new concept to a lot of people, is that big swings and misses are not people trying to hit home runs 0-2. Like the idea of like, because this is the other thing that people say, like, nobody shortens up with, everybody just takes one swing, everybody's just trying to hit home runs all the time. Like, do you understand that people are trying to catch up to 97 to 100 mile an hour fastballs? Like, when you're late or fooled on like when you're dealing with that kind of velo, like, you just swing harder. Like, your bat has to move faster.
You're trying to catch up.
Because you're trying to catch up. So when you see somebody take a big swing, and I get this all the time, like, when you hit the ball, you swing nice and easy. Yeah, I'm trying to swing nice and easy every fucking time.
Dude, I'm going to be honest with you, since you told me that, I don't remember, maybe weeks ago, something like that. Like, I don't remember exactly when you told me that, but it has changed the way I've, like, watched baseball ever since then. That I was like...
Right, you know, it's like...
Yeah, like, I've noticed it with the high school games, obviously I coach, and watching some big league games of, like... Because I'll be honest, I always thought that too. You know, a guy taking a big swing and a guy that has a reputation of being a power guy and, you know, strikes out a lot or something like that. You're like, oh, he's trying to get too big. It's like, no, I was late and I was trying to catch up to it. And in an effort to do that, I tried to swing behind me because the ball was already in the catcher's mitt. Right. So my swing got long. Yeah, and then, so maybe my helmet pops off with me trying to do that or something like that. It's not so much that I was trying to hit a home run. I was trying to catch up to the fastball. I do think that's a really interesting point from a hitter, because that's honestly something I never really thought about, when I was pitching.
There was a quote in the article I read. It was a Tim Kirkagen article about how, like, the K is destroying baseball.
Yeah.
Decent enough article. Pissed me off because it started at, like, how nasty pitchers are and ended with old big leaguers talking about how shitty big league approaches are. And, like, one of the quotes early in the article from the part that I liked was, like, I think it was Jason Ochart or something, but anyway, he said it was something like, a lot of these guys, some of these big league hitters, they're not just swinging for the fences. They're up there trying to survive.
Right.
Like.
So it's fair to say, I'm sorry, but I'm saying it's fair to say that obviously on the question of, what's going on with the no hitters and it is on the pitchers being nasty, and it's not on the hitters approach and whatnot. The hitters have to catch up to the pitchers. That's how the game always works. It's like the interaction starts with the pitchers. The pitchers throw the ball. Right. And like you can't hit without a pitcher throwing you the ball. So like I think the way to say it would just be like, the pitchers are really, really nasty, and hitters are figuring out how to deal with that. The idea in general, like the idea that like the salaries that they pay hitters, the salaries that they pay, coordinators and hitting coaches and, the industry of independent, swing coaches and stuff like that, like such a big thing. Like we have some of the best minds, in baseball working on these problems. Right.
And just the idea that like, hey, have you thought of this? Like, right. Yeah, we're trying.
Yeah.
I want to point out something because I don't know if it's.
Sorry, that always brings back to that Patrick Beverly, Lou Williams post game on KD.
Yeah, exactly. No, listen, they're good. Yeah.
The other guys get paid too,
Right. But what was I going to say? Oh, I was going to bring up this point. Did you notice? There was one on Donaldson a couple days ago or in the last few days. The amount of hitters that are swinging at breaking balls that hit them.
Oh,
have you noticed that that's been happening? There was like two people in spring training. I think the first one, like I was kind of like, oh, that guy, that's kind of tough.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking, like, I was watching these, like, it was a guy in spring training that swung and got hit in the nuts. Right?
I don't think I saw that, but I mean, I've seen that in my life. I don't know the one you've talked about type of thing.
Yeah, Donaldson, professional hitter, MVP,
right.
one of, really, really, really good hitter,
Right.
right? Really knows what he's doing.
Right.
Had one where a lefty threw a slider that hit him in the leg, and he swung, and he it was a sword. He he tried to hold up and couldn't. I was like, that's not. At first, I was like, oh wow, what a really bad read. No, these balls are moving so far.
Right. But could you not
Right,
also,
like-
this is a little off topic, but that's kind of always been my point about the automated zones, is that I feel like a lot of these guys that have such sharp late breaking curveballs that they're going to be throwing shit that bounces, but it's crossing the strike zone type of thing, and you're going to have to cover that too. And I'm always like, I don't think some of these guys have such nasty breaking balls that break so late that, when I watch the game with the K zone, it's like, no, it entered the K zone and it like got to the backstop. I'm like, you'd have to cover that pitch like that? No shot, No,
no, yeah. Like, I mean, some of the when you watch like Pitching Ninja or just like all the like the accounts and stuff that like just show like nasty pitches all the time. I don't know. Yeah, like approach wise as a hitter, why would you be trying to hit singles?
Right. Okay, so that's all I want to say is when we talk about the approach versus pitching being nasty from the no hitters, is that's why my thinking was always, or has been, part of it is the approach, because yes, the value of a single has seemed to go down, and with that, I think that's kind of part of the correlation between no hitters. Is just the value of getting a hit doesn't seem to be what it used to be. And I think that is part of the reason why we're seeing more no-hitters. Coupled with, obviously, pitchers are nasty, but also kind of back in the day, at least when we were growing up, like, yeah, just getting a hit was a good thing. If you just fought off and got a single or whatnot. And I think the approach now has changed that, like, yeah, teams don't, that's not what they value. We're not gonna try to get 6 hits in this inning to get a big number. We're gonna try to
I think
get doubles, triples, home runs, and that's our 2-3 runs, right there on 2-3 hits as opposed to 6 hits type of thing.
Yeah.
So I do think part of it is the approach. The approach has changed to hitting, and that has made it more, if you're on, coupled with a pitcher being on, that yes, that's going to couple some dominant, no-hitter type stuff.
Yeah, and I also, I mean, you can kind of look at it like, there's so many no hitters, right? So like the hitters must be doing something wrong. You can also look at it like the no hitters are inevitable. Like we have pitchers now that are going to throw this many no hitters. So how do we win ball games knowing that we're facing a guy that can throw a no hitter every 4 or 5 games?
Yeah.
Right. Like
yeah.
What is our team approach against pitching this nasty? Like, I mean,
but we differ on the philosophy of a single. Like, I still value, like, the hit in a single. I still think that's a good thing. So we've always kind of disagreed on that type of thing.
I don't know if we totally disagree.
It's a common thing now if a hitter goes 2 for 4 with 2 singles that they're not quite happy. And I'm just saying, when I was growing up, that was like you were the player of the game.
Yeah. Well, because average doesn't mean as much. That's the whole thing. Like people are looking at. So OPS is down. My whole thing is I'm a big OPS guy.
Right.
And OPS is down too. But like people are looking at the average being down, and it's like just average just doesn't really mean that much.
Which is interesting, because I would say ultimately I disagree with that. From a pitcher, like, those are the hitters that I won't even say struggle with, but those are the guys I identify in a lineup of the guys that are going to cause you trouble. Like, a guy that's hitting 250, 240, 250 with a bunch of home runs, I'm like, no, if I just execute my stuff, like, I'll be good. The guy that's hitting 320, 330, I'm like, listen, he's probably also able to do damage even if I execute my stuff. So it really has to now go into, more strategy. So that is interesting to me.
But the thing about OPS is like, the guys you're talking about are still going to have high OPS.
Right.
Like, OPS is not just doubles and homers. Like, if you like guys that are on base all the time, hit for an eye average, but don't slug a ton, still have a high OPS.
Are you able to be in the top 5 in the league in OPS and like have a terrible batting average?
It'd be tough, but you could. Yeah, if you're like that. Yeah, if
you think you could lead the league in OPS and hit below like 270?
I mean, with the guys that are in the league, probably not.
I guess I don't really understand. I think you'd still be hitting somewhat. My thing is, my clip is like 270 above. Like that's kind of my thing. Is that like you're hitting 270 above, and the lower you are to 270, obviously, like a little bit more power production. But basically 270 above, I'm like, this guy's a really good hitter. This guy can kind of hurt you type of thing, even on your pitches from the pitcher standpoint. You're hitting below 270. I'm like, all I got to do is execute.
But so, okay, yeah. And so here's the thing. But the thing about like OPS is you can have a guy at 310 with the same OPS as a guy at like 240.
Right.
And like, as far as winning ball games, like those two hitters are doing just as much for you.
It's interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's a really interesting point. I would say my first reaction is I don't necessarily agree with that. Or I guess my point would be I think there's value in both of them, I guess, is my point. And I think there's been too much of – I know, but I think there's been too much of teams going, no, we're just going to go with the guy hitting 240 instead because maybe we can get him for cheaper. Maybe whatever it is, I'm saying the philosophy has seemed to go away from, we don't need that guy that's hitting 310 then. Or I'm saying I think there still is value of having those guys in your lineup. Where it seems like throughout baseball, the philosophy has gone away from, no, you don't need those guys that don't hit for high OPS, but hit 310 or, 315 or whatnot. And it's basically just, singles, first guy comes from like a David Eckstein type, guy. Like to me, that type of hitter is still very valuable to have near the top of your lineup.
I'd be interested. I'd like to see a list of guys with a 300 average and a sub 800 OPS because I feel like it'd be a very short list.
Right.
I don't even know if 800 is really the benchmark. I feel like I need to start setting my sights higher. But like, that's what I remember that when I was first introduced to the stat, that was what the benchmark was.
800.
800 OPS was like good. Anything below that, you're kind of struggling.
Okay.
What was the other point I was going to make was kind of if you don't like it, go home.
Well, I am home,
right? No. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to people in general.
Right.
And this goes back to like we talked about attracting new fans versus the baseball purists. And it's the baseball purists that complain. I know, right. But it's like this game is evolving, right. And we can look at it, we can decide that it's not what we like and call it bad and say it needs to change, or we can watch it evolve and decide if we want to watch or not.
Well, because I was going to say this is an issue that kind of seems to bother the baseball purists, because one thing about baseball purists that has always been an interesting thing is how much the value of a no-hitter and how special that is. That it seems like if it's happening more and more often, it's going to ruin the value of it. If it happens once a week, then no, it's not as special. The whole thing was like, oh my God, somebody just threw a no hitter. Not like, oh, I know, it's June 3rd, and it's just time for a no hitter type. So I think that's kind of where they're upset about it, is that it's supposed to be a more special thing than it's just a normal occurrence.
Sucks, dude. These guys got better.
Well, yeah, I guess. I mean, some of the guys that are throwing them, I wouldn't say are like known for the nastiest stuff in baseball.
Maybe not.
I mean, Wade Miley is, he's a great big league pitcher. He's never been considered like, oh my God, he's got nasty stuff that nobody can hit. Like,
I don't know. I can't say. I can't. Like in some, like you have some of the old school no hitters mixed in with the new no hitters, right? Like you have some guys that are just really nasty. You also just have really good pitchers that are on that day. Right. Some of the no hitters are just like the no hitters of old. Some of the no hitters are because the game is different. Right.
So at what point? Because the Rangers have now been no hit twice. So at what point?
All the teams that have been no hit have been no hit twice. It's the same three teams.
Have they?
Yeah, it's Mariners twice, Indians twice.
I didn't know that.
And Rangers twice.
That's actually really funny.
It is really funny.
All right, so those three teams just can't hit.
But so there is that. I don't know if those.
That's actually really interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't. And that's another conversation about like the labor stuff.
Yeah.
Roommate just got here. What's up, Brett? Where you have. I would say an imbalance of really, really, really good teams and not so great teams. Super high payrolls and super not so high payrolls. So yeah, there's that too. I don't know where those teams fall on that list. They're not. I know they weren't preseason picks to win the World Series.
Right.
So I think there's that point to make too.
Yeah. All right, that's probably a good place to end it.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, that was good.
You don't like it, go home.
Yeah, that's the overarching theme that D-Wash wants to leave you with. If you don't like it, go home. Or if you don't like it, play better. Those two things. Those are his big ones.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Until next time.